Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. Now today I wanted to bring to you a video discussing how you can play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! For under $100. Now, to be perfectly frank, if you are expecting to play this game at a competitive level in real life at big tournaments, you should expect to pay several $100s to do so if you want to do successfully well consistently, because that's kind of just how this game is in general. It's kind of just a rule of thumb, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to always be buying the top meta deck to do so. There are ways that if you want to play this game at a relatively, successful level competitively, that you can do that without breaking the bank. So that's what I wanted to discuss today, and there is a deck that will allow you to do that for under $100, and that's main and side deck included, and that deck is Barrier Statues. Now, for those of you who aren't too familiar with the Barrier Statue archetype, just as a quick rundown, the whole purpose of the archetype is to essentially lock down your opponent in a stun-style deck. All the Barrier Statues paired along with Fossil Dyna, the whole purpose is so that your opponent basically can't special summon or play Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a very protect the castle style deck. You summon your monster, you set a bunch of back row, and pretty much you don't let your opponent play, and that's how you get your wins. And it actually is very successful, especially in the current meta, seeing as a lot of decks rely on special summoning for their strategies to be very effective. Now, why this deck is so good is mainly in part to a card called Card of Demise. You might have heard of it. And the reason that is because it allows you to dig through your deck to find these barrier statues since they aren't searchable, and also allows you to just get a lot of resources compared to your opponent. I mean, Card of Demise is a +2 at best, and if you can manage to maximize its efficiency in that way, then you're going to be extremely far ahead of your opponent. They're going to have to deal with not being able to special summon and, 5 back row on top of it. So, it's a really good strategy. You've also got things like Moon Mirror Shield, which means your barrier statue can run over any monster at once. And then you've also got things to protect it, like battle traps such as Mirror Force, things like Phantom Knight Sword and Phantom Knight Wing, which protect it from being destroyed and also by battle. The deck is just really well constructed altogether, and the fact that it is a very successful stun strategy makes it very effective in the current meta. And I'm going to go into some reasons why that is. So if you look at the meta overall and kind of break it down deck by deck, the best deck is probably either one of three. It's either Metal Foes, PK Fire, or PK Phantom Knight Burning Abyss, or Blue Eyes. And probably more people are probably leaning towards Metal Foes as it currently stands. Well, Metal Foes is a pendulum-based deck. And Pendulum is a special summoning type mechanic, so if you have the ability to just get something on the board that prevents your opponent from special summoning, and you can keep that on there, then Metal Foes isn't going to be able to do too much. Gofu won't be able to special summon it out. They're not going to be able to do any sort of pendulum summoning. The best they're going to be able to do is summon one of their, Metal Foes or anything like that, attempt to run over your barrier statue, and they're going to meet one of your 5 back row, and subsequently probably lose after that point. Moving on to PK Fire or Burning Abyss variants. Burning Abyss does a ton of special summoning. It relies on special summoning things like Terror Top, Takaton Board, the Burning Abyss monsters, the Phantom Knights, all things like that. And if your opponent can't do any of that, makes it really difficult for them to play. The only thing I do want to warn you about with this deck is that they do have Fog Blade. Fog Blade can negate your barrier statue and make it so that they can special summon, but if you have 2 on the field, it's really not anything you have to worry about too much. So that's another matchup right there. And now Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes, essentially, if you get any sort of special summon, not negation, but if you get anything that prevents the special summon out, Blue Eyes is in a lot of trouble because the only outs they really play, especially going in game 1, are like Regeki, and, maybe Phoenix Wing Wind Blast if they're even playing it. So their outs are very limited. A lot of the time you can just drop a Fossil Dyna and you can just win right out from there. And yeah, it's a really simple game. Especially if you're going first. Going first is what you always want to do with this deck, and that works in your favor because a lot of the top meta decks also want to go second to get that extra card and just, make it that you have a better chance at bricking, so to speak. So if you have the ability to go first, if you win the die roll, or if your opponent wins but they force you to go first, that's the optimal experience with this deck. So I'm going to be putting my deck list down in the description for Barrier Statues, just so you guys can check it out. All I really did was priced everything out on TCG Player at the lowest that I could possibly find it for, near mint cards. And it came out to about $98.30, I think, if my memory serves correctly. I'll show the whole list. as well as the side deck. The best part about Barrier Statue is that it doesn't require an extra deck because you're never going to fucking use it. So the fact that you also have a 40 card main deck alongside a 15 card side deck for some of your problem matchups is just fucking fantastic. The only thing you really have to worry about with this deck is going second, because they have the ability to if you go second, it's just not going to be too good for you, because they're going to have the ability to set up, and when you're going second, if they have things like Twin Twister or Royal Decree or anything like that, it's not going to be a good day for you. So your strategy is very fragile at the same time, because it can be easily broken, whether it's using Royal Decree to stop, your plethora of traps, or finding more ways to just destroy the barrier statues in general. If they don't get them, though, you're going to be in good shape, and you're going to be winning a lot of tournament matches. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about barrier statues as a really good budget version of this deck. The one thing I do also want to kind of caution as well, this is for the current August 2016 format, from the new ban list. It's going to be very effective against ABC as well. They do a lot of special summoning, but they're not as reliant on it as a lot of the decks currently are. But it's still going to be a really good deck nonetheless going forward. Really good option for budget players, and I just really can't wait to see how the deck evolves in the future, because Card of Demise is a busted card, and I'm sure someone is going to also find some other way to further innovate the deck. So thank you guys so much for watching the video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Cimoooooooo!